This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring author, psychologist, and daily contributor, Shavaun Scott.
If your loved one is in prison or jail, you have to assume that any communications you have with them or they have with you, it can be still used against them. It can be looked at. A lot of people can get access to it. And that's exactly what's going on right now in the murder case of Madeline Soto. The family of Stephan Sterns writing some letters back and forth. We have one right here we'll take a look at in just a moment. But within those letters is some very interesting information or accusations of others being involved in abuse, the murder of Madeline Soto. That's kind of up for debate, depending on how you interpret the language. Joining me to discuss, Shavaun Scott, psychotherapist and author. Basically, we have letters from the brother of Stephan Sterns, and we have one from mom. Mom is the one who I found to be the most interesting, talking about that there's other people involved in this, and seemingly she has some sort of knowledge of saying, we all know blank, redacted, the name's not in there. I'm assuming she's talking about Jen Soto, that's just my assumption, was heavily involved in this. And I'm disgusted that she is free and you are not, when this is not all your fault. What was your reaction to reading this letter from mom?
Really strange thinking. It's not all your fault. Well, if any of it was his fault, all this material was on his phone, what an attempt to minimize there. And the other thing that popped into my head is it's very common for mothers to have great difficulty believing that their kid could be a monster. And so is this rationalizing an attempt for her to feel better, that, well, other people led him into it or other people were involved or, he's not really the monster he appears to be.
What I find interesting is it's like, well, you're like monster light, like you're kind of a monster, but you're not all a monster.
Yeah.
That to me is just, it's shocking. And especially in a case like this where it's pretty cut and dry. There's not a lot up for debate here. There's images of him raping a child on this phone for many, many years. It's there. There's no looking back and saying, oh, it's not real. It is. So in some aspects, she seems to have an understanding of this being reality. But still, I guess, is she not grasping the gravity of what exactly is going on here? I mean, this is it. I don't know. I mean, I would think at this point, you'd just be done with your kid.
Oh, my God. Yes. No, she's clearly minimizing. She's minimizing, rationalizing, and looking for someone else to blame, which is not a healthy way to be. It shows that there's some red flags about her perception of reality. It's off.
Did you garner anything out of this letter that maybe she was aware of some of these things going on? Because there was a lot of, we all know she was in this, into that too. You did? Really?
Right.
You knew, you knew that other things, like, what did you know and when did you know it? That's a weird thing to me. What did you take out of some of those things?
I had the same thought. It has this sense that the awareness is not new. Mm-hmm. And, at how far back was the awareness that there's something off here? And did she know the full extent of it, or did she just have some hints about it? Yeah. It was a very weird letter.
With people like this, I go back and I say, well, what's the recipe? What made Stephan Sterns? What this is one of the pieces right there, mom.
Yeah.
And that's what made me kind of start to raise more my eyebrows on this. Was okay, the minimalization on these things, the somewhat seemingly recognition that there is some knowledge of what's going on here with her son. Okay, well, how was he raised? What the hell happened in that house?
Exactly.
And that's an interesting one that I think, I mean, should that be investigated as part of this case to understand, what made this person who they are today? Not to minimize it or dismiss anything, but it makes you wonder, okay, you're cool with this. Who else do you know? What else is going on in your world?
What else do you know? And so many of the allegations from people that knew him going back years, friends, he was always weird sexually. He was always obsessed with porn, just strange stories. And to what extent did she know that and just let it be, you know, be accepting of it? It's certainly questionable.
It's very bizarre. Where do you think we're going to see, or where do you think things are at here? Obviously, there's been no charges against Jen Soto as of right now. That's, of course, mom, who it seems is being insinuated in the letter as having more knowledge of this, at least from Stephan Sterns' mom. But why haven't we seen an arrest there yet? Because it seems very evident, at least my conjecture on it is that, yeah, there was some knowledge here. I mean, she's encouraging her daughter and her boyfriend to go sleep together.
Yeah. It's weird that there hasn't been, because I agree with you. The extent of this abuse and her seeming collusion by putting them in the same bed together. It's bizarre that she could claim she had no idea that any of this was going on, and her, attempting to enable him during the search where she was comforting him. I mean, there's so much that's off and so much that's suspicious. It surprises me that there hasn't been an arrest. But we would think if they could come up with something significant, they would have done it by now. So it's another curious aspect to this.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, is she providing more information to bring more people down, or are they just going to kind of let her do her thing and just keep collecting as they can to do just that?
Yeah.
Fascinating one, as I know the next hearing, I believe, for Stephan Sterns is now in October. They keep pushing the trial date back. I'm going to guess because they're just still gathering more evidence of what the hell's going on here.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free,
so you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.